Hey everybody, it's your Book Bud Joe here, and today we are going to talk about The Life of Chuck by Stephen King. Now, if you've been following along, you'll know that I watched the movie first and loved it. I was just obsessed with it. I watched it twice in one weekend, couldn't get enough of it, really had an impact on me. I really enjoyed it. It really moved me. I just felt like it was top tier Stephen King and just top tier filmmaking. You know, the way that these screenwriters bring the book to life on screen is just fantastic. And that one was no exception. Wow. I just loved it so much that I had to go out and get this right away and read it. And so this is a part of the short story collection If It Bleeds. But they also have this standalone short little story here. And it ties in with the movie, which is really fun. And a very special addition to this book is that on the right hand lower corner, they have Chuck from the movie in various dance positions. And it's that old fashioned, if you go like this, you'll see him dancing and spinning around. Now, I don't know if I could possibly get that on camera. I don't know if you can see that, but I just thought that was awesome how they did that. It was a nod to nostalgia, right? When you were a kid, you had those books that did that. And it's just such a great tie-in for the movie. Like, fans of the movie really appreciated that because there he is in the town square doing his thing, turning around, dancing. That's so cool. And a big part of the story that attracted me was the dancing and this kid's love of dance. And this guy just liked to do it for fun. He wandered away from dance throughout his life, and he was like, had like a stuffy job in like an office. And so he still had it in him though, because once he heard that music, he just let it all out. That's so cool. We shouldn't stop doing what we love, guys. We need to find time. We need to find time. Like we find time reading, right? We could also find time to do things that we have always wanted to do, have always wanted to learn. We're never too old to learn something. So don't let that get away from you because it enriches our soul and it makes us happier and just more grounded and focused. And, you know, for the times that are just not so fun, like going to work, we need to like take care of ourselves so that we can be recharged enough to go to work because we need money. We can't just play all the time, but we need to have both. Playtime is very important, so don't forget that. Okay, so then I read the book afterwards. So doing it in that order, you know, I don't really recommend doing that for anything, but sometimes it happens. Like I did that with The Handmaid's Tale. It ruined the book for me. I was not a fan of the book. The show is just absolutely phenomenal that I can't compare. It doesn't compare to me. If I had done it in reverse, I would have been like, oh, yay, they didn't ruin the book. They're doing a great job. You know what I'm saying? Like it enhances the story that's already been there, that you already consumed. When you go in reverse order, I know it's a little boring. Going in reverse order for this, it wasn't bad. I do recommend reading it first. It's always good to start with the source material. But going in reverse wasn't too bad. There were some slight changes, and any change that they did make for the movie just made it better, in my opinion. It was just so much better than what was here. Not that it needed to be changed, but, you know, sometimes they need to make changes for the film, for visuals. So, like, it makes sense to me why they changed a few things. But it was very close. Like, the narration in the movie was right out of here. It was like verbatim. All of Stephen King's prose. Right out of here. That narrator, wow, what a fantastic job he did. Like that narration is like central to this movie and this story. It ties all three parts together, and his voice was just phenomenal. And I read that he offered to do it for free after reading the script because he loved it so much. I mean, I don't know the ins and the outs of their deal, but that's what I read. But it was who did the narration? It was Nick Offerman. And wow, he just hit a home run with this because when you're watching that story and you're hearing his voice and it's exactly what was written here, it's just so impactful. I love his voice. He did such a great job. Isn't that amazing how important a narrator can be in a story? So now when I read the book, I was hearing his voice. So that's what happens when you go in reverse. Then the images are provided for you, and then it's just different. One change also was the busker, the drummer. She was female in the movie. She was great. Loved her. But she was male in here. It was a guy who was drumming. So they made that change, which I thought was interesting. I think it's better as a woman. I think it was better. That was really cool. So it didn't take anything away from the story that change. Well, it's not a change. It's the original the way that it should be. So again, that change into the movie that I didn't mind it. I thought it was better because I'm trying to picture a guy in that seat. I mean, if you get the right guy, her facial expressions were just fantastic and how into it she was. That was great. So one other slight little change, and this is like a word, guys. It's like a word was changed. When he's dancing with his grandma in the kitchen, and she comes up to him and says, "Dance with me." In the movie, I think she says, "Dance with me, little brother," or "Dance with me, brother." And in the book, she says, "Dance with me, Henry." Now, I'm assuming that it's because of that old song. A lot of people sang it. Etta James, "Dance with me, Henry." Ooh, all right now. It was like an old song, and it's also in. Is it in the Sister Act soundtrack or the Sister Act 2? Sister Act 1. It's in Sister Act when they break out at night and go to the bar, the nuns, and then they're dancing in the bar. One of the songs was "Dance with me, Henry," dun, 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 dun. Which is like an old song from the 50s. So I imagine maybe that's what she was referencing in the book. But for the movie, they changed it to brother, I think. And then when he's in the square dancing and he sees that girl vibing and he goes up to her and he says sister. So that kind of, I guess, fit. That's the same in here too. But so that was a little bit of a change. The other thing that was not in the book was when the guy in part one, the teacher's on the phone with his ex, there was a whole thing in the background on the TV. It was kind of like an educational, well, not a nature show, but is universe nature? Like an old educational program. program. And it was all about the age of the universe, and they were saying how old it is and how if you put it on our calendar, our yearly calendar, that man wasn't created until like December 31st. And then like each hour is like something different that happened in our history. So they were just saying like how long has the universe been around? That's how long. January to December, no man was born until December 31st, and then all of our history came. So that was not in the book. Part 3 is called "I Contain Multitudes." So that's another change because in the movie, part 1 is death, part 2 is life, and part 3 is childhood. I'm not sure. But in the book, Act 3 is called "Thanks, Chuck." Act 2 is called "Buskers," and Act 1 is called "I Contain Multitudes." I like that. That's cool because that was just such a central theme for this last part. How he asks his teacher, "What does it mean when he says, 'I'm so big I contain multitudes'?" And then she goes into that long explanation about how your mind contains all of the experiences and people that you've met in your life. And it's like a whole world upon worlds in your brain and in your universe. And then when they made it so that when he dies, all those worlds are dying. That's what Act 1 was about. Well, really Act 3. But so this was told in reverse, so that's why I keep making mistakes, because it starts with Act 3. I think that was actually a good change, because Act 2 is called Buskers. Okay, Act 3, I Contain Multitudes. I mean, that's so important. But in Act 1, thanks, Chuck. Yeah, it's just the movie, they gave us kind of like a clue into like what exactly was happening, right? Death, life, gave us a little bit of a clue, because these titles in the book, they don't really tell us much, and being that it's told in reverse, it could be a little confusing. So I like that change as well. Great changes. I'm not mad at that. I'm really not. So all in all, I really recommend this short story by Stephen King. This is my first short story by Stephen King. Can you believe that? And he's written so many uh, volumes with with multiple stories in them, and I'm not a person who gravitates towards short fiction. Like I don't really enjoy short stories, but maybe I enjoy Stephen King's short stories because his longer works are just hit or miss with me. Like I can't take the 900 pages, 900 plus. Like I just can't do it. So maybe I'm missing out. I'm focusing on his novels, but maybe I should be reading the short stories. Should I be starting with If It Bleeds? Like, since I like this so much? Wow, there's just so much more to come. That's just so exciting. Readers really have a wonderful hobby because there's never a shortage of stories to read and books to read and audiobooks to consume. Like there's just a whole world out there, and like we're never ever going to read everything for as long as we live. So we got a great hobby. Yeah, I'm excited. So I think I've made some decisions. I'm going to read some of his shorter works because I think he really packs a punch. He really packed a punch in this short. This particular edition is 109 pages, and wowee, did he do his work so good. And I love the whole thing about the cupola and how he's talking to his grandfather, and his grandfather was keeping it a secret. I love that whole part in the book. It was just so like old fashioned Stephen King spooky, but like not. I mean, this is not like a horror story, This book is a nice story. It's nice. Stephen King gave us a nice story here, like he sometimes does. But I love that he threw in that little bit of mystery, a little bit of like it was a little tense, wondering what's in the attic, what's in the cupola. So I really enjoyed that. So go out, read this book, then watch the movie. I don't think you'll be disappointed. It's great. Thumbs up. A plus from me. If you're enjoying Book Buds, please like, share, and subscribe. And last but certainly not least, thanks for visiting Book Buds. This is a great author. How does this look? How do you like it? I feel like if that's there, testing. Let's see how that is. And in the movie, and in the book, okay, now I can return it to the library.